White. Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what discussions it's had with the sports and events sectors regarding alternative transport arrangements in light of the revised ScotRail train timetable.
Minister Jenny Gilruth.
Discussions with sectors across a range of portfolios, including sport and events, have been taking place in relation to the impact of ScotRail's temporary timetabling and alternative transport. For example, on the 20th of May, culture officials joined the Event Industry Advisory Group meeting, where I understand the group discussed the impacts on the events sector. The EIAG includes members from cultural, sporting and business events. And while we want the temporary timetable to be in place for as short a period as possible, engagement is also ongoing with individual events as required. Many attendees will already have plans to make use of Scotland's extensive bus services that serve key routes.
White. The World Cup qualifier on the 1st of June is one of the biggest games in 20 years, with more than 50,000 people flocking to Hampden. Considering the last-minute changes on the day, 700 services were axed. Can the Minister today give fans the assurances they need that extra capacity will be laid on to get them home from Hampden, many to northern cities, and that this capacity will not fall foul to more unplanned cancellations?
Minister.
I thank the member for her question. I think, first of all, it's important to remember why this dispute is happening. ScotRail has taken the decision to put in place a temporary timetable, and that has been made necessary by the decision, as part of a pay dispute, of train drivers not to take up the option of Sunday and rest day working. Now that is in train drivers' gift. Rest day working is entirely voluntary, and this has been a feature of British Railways for many, many years, entirely predating nationalisation last month, I should say. But it's also true to say that Scotland, like many other parts of the GB rail network, relies upon rest day working to allow the network to function. And what we've seen over the course of the past few weeks, of course, is the network not functioning. So we've had mass cancellations. On Sunday, for example, the last day of the old timetable, there were over 300 cancellations. I do understand the concerns of supporters planning to attend the Scotland match against Ukraine on the 1st of June, which is just over a week away now. This is, of course, Scotland's most important game in a long time, and we really want to ensure that supporters can get both to and from the match on public transport, including using, where possible, our bus services across Scotland. I would note, though, however, before this reduced timetable was introduced, the last train, I think, from Glasgow to Aberdeen would have been at 21:40, meaning it would still not have returned people home to Aberdeen after the match. But ScotRail is aware of the various large cultural and sporting events across the summer, and the impact of the reduced timetable might have on them is currently being reflected by ScotRail in terms of how they will address that. Now, specifically on the Scotland-Ukraine match, I asked ScotRail for an update on this last Friday. They have assured me that plans are in place and they will publicise details of this in due course, as they do with all major events. And I will be meeting ScotRail tomorrow to seek an update on this work and, more broadly, of course, on the negotiations, as they are due to meet with Aslef this afternoon.
White. Minister, the nighttime economy and cultural sector are already on their knees with the pandemic. The Nighttime Industries Association has described the cuts to rail services as devastating, and that Scotland's economic recovery and the future of many thousands of small businesses and jobs are at risk as a result of the rail service that has been cut to the bone. Last week, Douglas Ross asked the First Minister what compensation will be made available to businesses affected by the cuts. The First Minister didn't answer. Can the Minister provide a response now?
Minister.
I thank the member for her question. Of course, ministers are very aware of the impact the pandemic has had on the nighttime and on the wider hospitality sector, but also, I should say, on Scotland's cultural sector. And I know, as a former cultural minister, just how challenging the pandemic has been for our theatres and cultural venues in terms of the restrictions. Undoubtedly, this time has been the most challenging for the industry in living memory. We are aware, of course, as well, of the emerging pressures from the cost of living crisis, both due to the cost of doing business and the consequences of reduced household incomes, additionally on leisure spend, for example. ScotRail, of course, will be keeping this timetable under review. But in regards to the member's question, it's absolutely essential that we now get a resolution to allow for that restoration of the timetable and allow for services to go back to normal for passengers and staff alike. So it's absolutely essential we do that, and I will be seeking an urgent update from ScotRail on that meeting with Aslef later this afternoon.
Jackie Dunbar.
Thank you, Presiding Officer.